Well, hello and welcome once again to the DCL podcast, where we're inviting you to sit back, relax, and we'll be on our way shortly.
Well, welcome back to the DCL podcast, your podcast to cruise a little smarter. I'm your host, Lake, and I'm joined by my co-host, Christy. Christy, how are you today?
I am well, Lake. How are you?
I am doing pretty good. We are jumping on for a quick little mini-sode to talk about the little bit of DCL news that we got out of D23 this past weekend.
Super mini, because it's very short, the information that we're going to give, but that's okay. I was kind of hoping for more because Disney did, which they typically do, but a whole big, Disney Believe, coming Sunday for their D23 Expo, what would it be called? Trade show booth or whatever. And I really wanted it to give us more. They didn't give us anything new on there. I mean, they gave us new stuff. We got some new stuff. Some stuff that's bringing people to talk about this ship, which is probably what they wanted for the next 2 months. But until we get our October release, which apparently they're going to give us more information.
Yeah, I mean, I think that's the big thing is that October release is going to be the big hype, and I'm going to guess that bookings will start very shortly after that. So they want people to immediately be excited and immediately want to book, and they did not want to try to manage that in the middle of D23 week.
Yes, for sure. And we're still waiting on fall 2027, which I feel like Disney, with the momentum and then spring 2028, I feel like with the momentum that Disney has from D23, this would be a good time. My speculation, based upon no knowledge and nothing for real, is that we will actually get fall 2027 potentially next week. That way they can get them going live before Labor Day. So, and I don't know if that'll happen, but I feel like that's going to happen, or they have 1 more week potentially, right? And then they would have to wait because of Labor Day.
Well, speaking of the Believe, though, let's jump into the little bit of news that we got. So what they've confirmed for us is both the stern and the bow statue and painting, or what are they, crest on the bow, which is Tinkerbell, which is kind of interesting because it's almost all been Minnie or Mickey for the Wish class.
Right. And one of our listeners put on our Instagram page, one of these things is not like the other. And isn't she right? It really isn't.
I will save my thoughts until we talk about all of these things, and then we can jump into my thoughts on the Believe. But then we also got the Stern statue, which I did think was cute. We are getting Woody and Buzz. And then probably the most divisive thing of this whole DCL announcement is the fact that they are changing the font of that Believe.
I mean, the internet blew up.
Yeah, a lot of people do not like it. I think it's fine. I don't disagree. Again, it just is very contrasting to everything else that we have. The idea is that it's Woody and Buzz literally drawing the logo with the crayon, and it's in that Toy Story font, essentially, rather than that kind of elegant, storied font that we've seen on the back of the rest of the ships. Personally, I'm not the hugest fan of it, but I'm not going to cry too much about that.
We're not talking about our feelings until the end, Lake. Consistency. All right. So the last thing that we really got is that Moana is in the atrium, which she looked amazing. She has her oar and she's going to be amazing out there in the world. But it does lead people to believe, right? That we're not getting a Moana restaurant. And so that is disappointing for the community, I believe, as well. We need a ding every time I say the word believe.
Yeah, I do think it was an interesting choice, just being that Moana is represented on the treasure already. But I do think that statue will look great. And if that entire lobby is themed to that color palette of Moana, there is some opportunity for that to be stunning.
And they already showed some pictures of the atrium where they have the waves on the railings, and it just already looks stunning. I'm going to pick a Moana over a Marvel character any day of the week. Yeah, I love it.
I do want nothing more than that Moana statue to also be like a fountain element and like little squirts of water like come up out of it. And like maybe the base is like a very small, like flowy fountain.
That would be amazing. Listen, Imagineering, Lake is giving you some ideas. So Disney indicates that the ship celebrates belief in magic, family, and the power of nature. Ooh, family. And the belief in yourself. And so that was Disney's quote unquote, right, snippet about what the ship is going to be. The stories we tell on board will all be tied together by the core Disney notion of believing in something fantastical. Oh, that could also be like a clue, right? We have to read these clues. So the magic of family, there is some, based upon not a whole lot of fact, right? An idea that maybe Encanto might get a restaurant or a show. And I think Encanto is about family, I believe, right? And so the magic of family makes a lot of sense there. Because what other Disney movies would trigger that idea of family that isn't already represented on a ship? And then you found that they have a casting call in Colombia coming up shortly where they're looking for lookalike performers. So that has to be for Encanto, right? For either, well, they didn't say. Did they not say who the lookalike performers were for?
No, it's actually pretty general of they're looking for like musicians, dancers, like there's a pretty broad range that they're looking for, which could lead to be, okay, maybe they are just looking to diversify. But yes, I think there's strong pointings that there will be something Encanto on this ship. I do think that the themed restaurant is an obvious choice for that. I think it really aligns with what we've seen recently, especially with like Coco, Frozen, and of course, Lion King.
So that will be interesting to see what Disney comes out with. Remember, in early October, they're doing that release where they're going to do it, like bringing some people to Florida. Some people are going on the Wish to watch it. So it just, we'll get some information back from then. I guess we could just stick to some thoughts we have about it. For me, the new font I like consistency. So I'm a person who likes a schedule and likes to sort of know what I'm getting. And I just feel like they could have still put Woody and Buzz on there and not mess with our font, because even for the Destiny, for Spider-Man, they used like his webs made a different shape than the other ones, but they still kept the ship name font the same. And I like consistency. So like on your logo on your shirt, is it going to be Disney Believe in that like Toy Story font? I'm so curious about this because all the other ones are consistent with the Disney ship writing.
Yeah, I mean, my thoughts on this ship in a whole are just that this is going to be the fill ship. This is the ship where they're looking at, okay, what haven't we done and what are people asking for? It's going on this ship.
What IP will make somebody new book, which we already know that that's what their goal was for on the Destiny, that the Destiny's whole purpose was to get new cruisers cruising and people who didn't otherwise have experience with Disney Cruise Line. And so this is probably the rest of it, right? That was the Marvel and the superhero themed ship. And now this will be maybe the whimsical rest of it.
Yeah, my only thing with it is it almost feels like it's going to end up being like Wish 2.0.
Yeah, hodgepodgey.
I don't know. The Destiny and the Treasure, I think, are extremely unique. And I feel like once this comes out, now that's knowing no other information on this ship, just what we've seen so far and what they've kind of told us, it feels very much more along the lines of that kind of classic princessy type of experience that you get on the Wish, which I'm not saying is good or bad. That's what it feels like to me.
Well, and my pure speculation is that this ship is going to take over the Wish itinerary and Wish location, and that the Wish, based upon nothing, literally, people that know things could be laughing at me right now, but I think that the Wish is going to end up in Galveston for part of the season at least, if not most of the season because Galveston already leaked that in 2027 they're getting a full-time ship. Now we already know it's going a Disney ship, that it's going to be towards the end of the year, but the Believe is coming out towards the end of the year. And we'll know more, a little bit more, when we start getting schedules.
And on top of that, it is, I don't want to say confirmed, but strongly rumored that the Wish will be doing an additional year in Europe after 2027.
Right, because people found it on the port map for Athens, I believe, already for the website, saying which ships were going to be in port. And it didn't just say a Disney ship, it said the Disney Wish. So fascinating that she would be doing 2 seasons there, so she could go out for the summer. But then who would they put in Galveston for the summer for 2028? It's all, we just need to know, Disney, what is happening? There's too many questions.
Well, I think that leads us pretty well into the additional discussion, because really within the next year, there are essentially 3 more ships in a brand new class coming out that we got teasers for.
Yes, but we'll get more information, but those ships don't come out till 2029.
Oh, sorry. Yes, that follows the OUC.
Yeah. Yeah, so the next, Disney ship that comes out after the Believe will be the ship that's owned by OLC, right?
Yes.
And in Japan. And we don't know yet whether that one will be able to be even booked under our system that everybody books cruises for now, or if it'll be like
Tokyo Disneyland.
The Japanese parks. Yes, Tokyo Disneyland. I'm like, what are those words? That you have to book it through their system, and travel agents, for example, Disney Travel Company is not involved at all. So that'll all be really interesting. So new class of ship. Here, let's talk about the size first. Disney puts in their press release that it is right in between, in quotes, which I find fascinating, right in between the new class of ship, which would be the Wish at 144,000 gross tons, and the Magic at 84,000 gross tons. Right in the middle would put us, but 120,000 gross tons or something along those lines. But Meyer-Werft, who's building the ship, says that the new class of ship will be 100,000 gross tons. So probably the Meyer-Werft one is correct. But Disney is so specific in how they word press releases. Why would they put right in quotes?
Well, yeah, that's just wrong, because it's not going to be much larger than 100,000 gross tons, which is, again, what Meyer-Werft has advertised and what they have reconfirmed a couple times. So that was just not the greatest of writing. But yes, the idea is this is essentially, I almost want to consider it like the Magic and the Wonder reimagined. That's my own words. That is not any official writing, but it is a smaller class of ship. Do you believe, eventually once the Magic and the Wonder have had their time, they wanted to maintain some of the uniqueness that those ships can do. A lot of ships follow the problem in Alaska right now that they can no longer do the inside passage because they are just simply too big for it. Some ships, while they can go through the Panama Canal, it may be a little bit more difficult nowadays. I think they wanted to leave some ships that were open and also lower capacity for when they do interesting things like the Wonder has done of going to Australia and doing some of these 1 or 2 seasons to test markets out.
Well, and obviously the smaller ships get to go into different locations as a whole. So it's not even just Alaska, but it's some of these other maybe European ports where the larger size ships have to actually dock outside of towns. And that's the same thing that, as you mentioned, is already happening in Alaska, where you just have to be concerned about docking and where the ship is allowed. So there's also just even ship sizes that need to be a certain size to go under certain bridges, like the Lions, whatever it's called, bridge in Vancouver. So that's another one to keep in mind. You need a smaller ship to be able to go under there. Otherwise, you have to dock in a different location outside of the city, which is not as fun.
Yeah, some additional notes before we get into kind of the fun theming and design touches that we can get on is that, one, there is, of course, that highlight on being eco-friendly. It is noted to be able to use multiple different types of fueling already. which is kind of an issue that ships have on various ports and various places having restrictions on what kind of fueling can be used in different ports around the world. So again, another thing opening up to, where is the ship or these ships planning or able to go? And then also there is some little technical jargon in that blueprint of, new optimized hull, lighter weight features, which is maybe something that, again, is allowing some of this additional space, but not necessarily as heavy as some of the other ships have been in the past. Interested to see a little bit more of the nitty gritty of that, but it is definitely pretty deep in the weeds there.
Yeah, that'll be interesting to see what comes out. If you go to the Disney parks, well, it's on Disney Cruise Line too, but the actual reel that they made, they have their concept art drawing of the ship, and you can pause and try to increase the size so that you can study it. But Disney has not given us an actual picture of the ship that we can work with that isn't just the concept art. The one thing, though, that they're highlighting is that the atrium is going to have a wall of windows. And that is amazing. I love that. Icon class for Royal Caribbean always has this mall-like feel, right? But they have now a wall of windows in their atrium so that you can see out to the ocean. People want to see the ocean on a cruise. And I am all here for every viewing of the ocean. And obviously that'll be helpful for a place like Alaska too.
Yeah, I do think there is some emphasis on the designs that we see already of outward viewing and additional viewing that we haven't seen before. In addition, they do, I think, make a pretty blatant point to highlight the track as well, because they have intentionally shown you that there is a bridge cutting across that window. And if you continue to zoom out, it actually looks like that track goes all the way around the aft rather than going through an inside cutout, which is interesting.
Ooh, I haven't zoomed that way to see that yet. And we're talking about the walking track or running track, the outside deck 4 track that's on the first 4 ships and not on the Wish class.
Yeah, so it does look like there's a pretty strong teaser that they may have brought back that full running track, which is, one of the number one things that people have quoted they, would love to come back. And definitely super interesting if that actually runs basically that full outer perimeter around the back as well. It does look like on the forward side, though, it would have to cut in through the ship. But if we get the full circle back, I'm good.
Yeah, and I don't mind sometimes cutting through that part because it's kind of fun, usually for me, to see, I don't know, the crew area doing their work or whatever they're and it's in the shade sometimes. If it's I'm perfectly fine with that.
Another call out too is when you are on the blueprint section of that reel is it highlights through the forward section. And I believe it kind of evolves from the different ships.
Yeah.
But then the last one has some pretty interesting elements, which are 100% some interpretation. But it almost looks like it still has the shaded little Mickey shape in the front. There's possibly hot tubs or a splash pool or something in there. But on the side, there's some weird squiggles and stuff. And it makes me wonder if there's a water slide or some sort of splash pad situation going up there.
Yeah. I wonder what that... Well, and that's typically the teen area. So it will... and tween area. So it'll be interesting to see. Yeah, it'll be interesting to see what they do. I want more blueprints.
Other big thing that I think people called out immediately is there is a noticeable lack in the concept image of any sort of aqueduct or aquamouse feature.
Oh, yeah.
Which is something that I think, again, is super prevalent on most of the mainline ships. Not something I would super be upset with if it isn't on there.
Right. Not even a Mickey slide. Which would just mean that it's going to cooler areas. And if it's true.
Yeah. I mean, again, some of that could just be hey, that isn't something we wanted to put into the concept yet. But again, I feel like the aqua, whether it's the mouse or the duck, are very noticeable features on the ships. So I do think that's definitely at least a call out. I mean, there's probably going to be a yellow Mickey slide or a Dino District.
The Dino District.
that element at some point I think has to be on there a little bit. Other little call out that I noticed too is when it's zooming out from that windows, it looks like there's like an additional covered area right up between the two funnels.
Oh, yeah.
And it definitely makes me curious of like, is there, I can't quite tell, is there an additional inside area there? Is it just maybe, some shaded area? But again, kind of making that call out to like additional viewing spaces or intentional viewing spaces.
Well, and doesn't the adventure have that little covered area where their little roller coaster is? Not to say that this tiny little ship's going to have something like that, but that is a Disney ship that has a little covered area. Although the fantasy, it has that covered area where after the funnel, where before the adult only area, that's still sort of the family zone. And so maybe they're just trying to give people more shade, which isn't a bad thing.
Yeah, it's just very interesting that I feel like they've never wanted to like obstruct that funnel vision type of side. And then, of course, you can make some notices to where there are likely going to be, some suite classes. On that upper level, you can see forward, there is like those whole giant pane of windows that kind of makes a really dark black spot on the image. So, is that some sort of lounge? Are we moving a restaurant? Or is that going to be, concierge areas that have like floor to wall windows or infinity type verandas up on that space as well?
Yeah, that's actually an interesting idea as well. And are they going to do a ship within the ship, including dining, like other cruise lines do for their concierge class? There's also a cutout below the deck 4. There's like a deck 3 cutout on the ship that has another railing and an open area. What's going to be down there? Who gets that little outside space?
I would absolutely love if that is like obviously, it's going to highlight that's the deck that you walk in on board on typically. So like it does appeal to that. But if that area has a little outside lounge part, I would die.
We can go out there and get a drink or whatever and sit out there. Oh my God, that would be amazing.
Like for that to be connected to whatever that lobby bar is, I think would be amazing. And the way it's cut out, like it should really be, for the most part, like element resistant.
Yeah.
Other two call outs too. One, there is a bump out that coincides with that window shape. Just one single bump out on the ship. But then there are two little mini bump outs, kind of once you look aft and look at the upper decks as well. Mm-hmm. And it's not unnotable. Some of the other ships do have that on that pool deck area just to create some additional space. But then you do see above that some additional bump out there. And that window design is still in line with kind of what you see like outside the Cove bar on the Dream and Fantasy. So, it does make me wonder, are we keeping that adult area in the back again? Or what is going back there?
Right. Yeah, that'll be interesting to see.
Other kind of interesting thing, I need to look at a silhouette of some of the other ships, but the big white funnel in the back of the ship.
Well, that's by where Satellite Falls would be. And so maybe this ship is getting a Satellite Falls because there is all the satellites back there.
Well, I'm talking about the aft one, though.
Oh, yeah, because Satellite Falls is in the front.
Yeah. Some of the other ships do have that kind of funky little thing coming out, whether it's some sort of satellite or whatever. I just feel like it's very pronounced on this image of it, which made me wonder, are both the funnels Fox funnels? But I don't think that's the case.
It'll be interesting to see if they put another cabin in the funnel. It's like, on the one hand, I feel like it's exciting for them to have cabins in the funnel. And on the other hand, they're often still available to be booked.
I mean, as someone who will never have the opportunity to utilize that space, I'm all for reutilizing it and making it back into even private event spaces or kids clubs. Yeah, especially when you're talking about we are now making smaller ships and we do have to be more intentional with these spaces. But I also find it very hard considering they refurbed the Fantasy and the Dream to also have funnel suites.
I know. But you know what? I look and see what available suites are available for booking, and funnel suites are often available. So that'll be interesting. I wonder if some of those windows up in the front are, in fact, like a big suite to sort of replace the funnel suite idea, but isn't in the funnel so that people can actually have a balcony.
I mean, one thing that would be cool, especially talking back to that big glass up on the top, is are we getting like a true solarium type of situation?
Right, like other ships also have, especially another that would also be important in colder climate itineraries as well.
Yeah, I mean, that was like my favorite space on the Bliss for, a lot of crap that I give the Bliss, even though it was a fine ship. But that was like the highlight area was its, viewing solarium section.
For sure. All right, well, I think we actually did better than I expected us to do.
Yeah, I think we, did some speculation and talked as much as we could about a 60-second reel.
Exactly. You have to literally pause and take a picture. I did take a picture, so when we go to post this episode, I will post the picture in the show notes to show, I guess, then you guys can zoom in and do all that yourself as well.
Yeah, that's the other hard part is the actual concept image has not been posted anywhere. It's only from the video. And the motion blur on the video is insane. So it's very hard to get something clear to actually zoom in.
Yeah, for sure.
But that is really all of the big news we got out of D23 for DCL specific.
Although small news, your favorite thing, Lorcana.
Oh my gosh, I almost forgot. Yeah. So Lorcana did do some activities on the Magic twice now. And they announced that concept, the Illumineer's Quest, which is a very bite-sized way to get into collecting Lorcana, is making its way fleet-wide. And I am super excited about that. And I know on the Magic they've done different activities, some being free and then some being paid as well. But you get the opportunity to get some exclusive promos to those, to DCL too, which is kind of cool. But yeah, I thought that was kind of a neat little thing that was also happening.
Yeah, that's great. All right, that'll officially do it for this episode.
I think so. Christy, where can our listeners follow you?
You can find me all over the internet at Pack Your Pixie Dust. If you would like to work with me to book a future cruise, you can find a Work With Me link in the show notes or go to my website. Lake, where can we find you?
You can find me on Instagram and YouTube at MouseGen and find more information on our website, dclpodcast.com, or follow us on Instagram and Facebook. But that is going to wrap up this episode. Thank you all so much for listening, and we will see you next time on the DCL Podcast. Bye, guys.
Bye, everyone.
The DCL Podcast is not affiliated with the Disney Cruise Line, Walt Disney Company, Adventures by Disney, or Run Disney. All of the opinions expressed on our shows are those of the hosts and the guests who appear on the show. If you have any questions about any of these products, please contact the Walt Disney Company.